we're just hearing pops from in the forest, which is a little concerning.
In case you have not heard about this weekend, firebombing by Antifa in Atlanta, Georgia. And if you follow my stuff closely enough, then you know the backstory on this. It involves a 12th Antifa dead, in America at least, not counting the ones in Europe or wherever else they may be. But we're calling this report Antifa Domestic Terrorism at Cop City, Atlanta, March 5th, 2023, a new chapter in the battle wherein the 12th Antifa was killed. Andy No uploaded the video Antifa launched ambush firebomb attack on Atlanta police with a description that reads in part, quote, around 5:30 p.m. on March 5th, 2023, a large mob of masked Antifa militants launched an attack on police and property at the construction site of the Public Safety Training Center in Atlanta. They assaulted officers with explosives, firebombs, and rocks before setting construction equipment on fire. Now notice the people with the green hats there. These are the NLG, National Lawyers Guild. They're basically activist lawyers, legal activism using the law by whatever. And look, you see the fire there on the grass. The probably Molotov cocktails. Green hats, they use the law by whatever means possible to try to get Antifa off. They say, I was there, I witnessed that they didn't do that thing. Stuff like that. It's abuse of the law. Okay, now, fast forward in time, both of these vehicles are on fire. See, the one on the right may not catch your eye as much as the one on the left, but then here's the one on the left. We're zooming in. This is in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll tell you some of the backstory to this. Not all of it, because I've already done a live stream about that. I'll probably do a better one at some other date. But it involves the 12th Antifa being killed in America, it seems. You may know Andy Ngo from the Post-Millennial and or his book Unmasked Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy from 2021. Ngo also uploaded aerial footage of Antifa ambush attack in Atlanta. Let's have a look at that. We took some of the redundant parts out of that last video, by the way. You may remember my report, 12th Antifa killed or first environmental activist killed by police in US history, wherein I give the background to what seems like the 12th Antifa killing in the USA, a sort of prolonged battle between Antifa and the authorities. This was the latest clash in that battle. On one side of the war, you have those invested in cutting down woods and constructing what they call Cop City, a large, expensive police and fire safety training center with training courses, K9 unit training areas and facilities for the dogs, and police horses and pastures for them, and lawns, and a mock urban area for training and to also perhaps serve as a film set, and lots and lots and lots and lots of money and big contractors and whatnot. On the other side are a bunch of Antifa squatting in those woods, playing Treehouse Ninjas, and literally terrorizing the local residents. And we're talking about literal dumpster fires, vehicles aflame, residents attacked, houses burnt down, Molotov cocktails, and a deadly gun battle in January, resulting in a severely injured officer, I believe maybe a sheriff, and other dead Antifa, the 12th one, I think, pretty sure. I give extensive details and background in my report, and if you see right there, you can click on that and it'll take you to my report, 12th Antifa killed, etc. Now, backing up to February 28th, a few days ago, the New York Times reporter Sean Keenan tweeted this. Hashtag Stop Cop City activists are preparing for a, quote, week of action, unquote, starting Saturday to protest the police and fire training center planned for part of Atlanta's South River Forest. If you want to read that, you can. On the morning of March 4th, the New York Times reporter Sean Keenan tweeted this. Today, Stop Cop City activists will kick off a week of protests. And okay, you got that. And here's the site, photograph of it. New York Times report about that. Preliminary tents are being erected now in the forest. And that's the idea. It's sort of squatting. Some of them are up in the trees and the tree houses. No kidding. Now, next day, we have this little bouncy house with Stop Cop City banner on there. Now, this is a little ironic because for the most part, you have people who live there locally who don't want Cop City or whatever its official name is to be built, but they also don't burn down their neighborhood dumpsters and set other people's cars on fires and houses and whatnot. And they feel, some of these people are reported and have been interviewed to say that they don't feel safe in their own homes in that area. So again, they don't necessarily want this stuff to be built, but they also are not for what these Antifas are doing. They're not down with that. So give them credit for that. It's not just a two-sided thing. But anyway, Stop Cop City, maybe these are people who are, this represents the people who are not on the side of Antifa, but want the Stop Cop City thing. They want the Stop Cop, they want Cop City to be stopped. But anyway, who knows? Now, Sean Keenan reports, I'm back in the forest for the Stop Cop City week of action, day 2. Still very easygoing, and you can see, well, there's, I think, are there kids in there? Anyway, you can see it's a sparse crowd. Kind of what I expected. Now, protest on the move. There is a video there, I believe, and I'm not sure why it's not coming through. Maybe I have to do this.
Back at the South River Forest. I think this is the Entrenchment Creek property where festival goers, or other Stop Cop City protesters have been holding a music festival. There's an obvious difference between this crowd. Oh, what are you doing? What?
Did you see that, folks?
Oh, what are you doing? What? What are you doing? What?
Yeah, that's typical of Antifa. They typically see a camera, they knock it out of the person's hand, and you try to explain to them, oh, I'm with you guys. They don't care. Because you're actually not with them, because they're not with you. At 5:48 p.m. March 5th, the Antifa propaganda outlet Unicorn Riot tweeted this. Translation. They're saying, hundreds of Antifas marched through the clearing through which the power lines run, and they were marching towards the police, who were surveying the area where the Cop City, quote-unquote, is to be built, while police helicopters hovered overhead, and it was the largest gathering of these Stop Cop City Antifas so far, according to one of them. Unicorn Riot also tweeted, the current scene right by the Entrenchment Creek. Gesundheit, Tabby. Tabby sneezed, y'all. The current scene right by Entrenchment Creek and the old prison farm / proposed Cop City site in DeKalb County, just outside Atlanta. Thousands flocked to ongoing week of action after police shot and killed a forest defender here in January. They're referring to the same one that I called the 12th Antifa killed. Unicorn Riot tweets, forest defenders have taken over the police surveillance outposts on the power line clearing near Entrenchment Creek. Police retreated after crowd arrived at barbed wire fence and shot fireworks into the area. Also, people are smashing and destroying the outposts remains. Sirens can be heard in the distance. A security light post is on fire. This police vehicle that was just guarding access to the proposed Cop City site is now engulfed in flames. So they care about the environment. This is all about the environment. They don't want them to cut down any trees. So what do? They burn this stuff and put black smoke into the atmosphere. And so it all makes sense. And yeah, and it's funny because here we have Unicorn Riot. This is a pro-Antifa propaganda outlet, sort of like it's going down. And they are proudly putting out these photos. And here they are putting this stuff out. They have no problem. They have no problem putting this stuff out. And it just makes them really seem very stupid because this is supposed to be about don't cut down these trees. It's bad to cut down these trees because it's bad for the environment, and then you get this.
Yeah, meanwhile, they've been throwing Molotov cocktails around the trees, through the trees, and in the trees.
23 people have been charged with domestic terrorism and 12 others detained, reports Fox 5 Atlanta, in 23 charge in clash between protesters and police at future Atlanta Public Safety Training Center site, published March 5th, but updated the next day. So it opens with the following video, so let's have a look at that.
Today about a violent clash between police and self-proclaimed anti-Cop City protesters.
Yeah, yesterday at least 30 people were detained after officers say they attacked and damaged property. Good day's Mark Teichner has our developing story live from the site of the proposed first responders training facility. Mark, good morning. What have you learned?
Yeah, good morning, guys. The police actually released video that they say shows this attack taking place on their fellow officers.
This was a very violent attack that occurred this evening. Very violent attack.
Self-proclaimed anti-Cop City protesters turned violent. Police say around 5:30 Sunday afternoon, dozens of protesters left the nearby South River Music Festival, intent on creating havoc at the site of the proposed first responder training facility.
And moved toward the training center site, armed with fireworks, rocks, Molotov cocktails, and other device, and launched a coordinated criminal attack against officers.
Video released by Atlanta police shows what officers. In the same video, you can see items being hurled by protesters in the direction of police, a tipped-over vehicle, and protesters trying to light construction equipment on fire. That vehicle ended up engulfed in flames.
Actions such as this will not be tolerated. When you attack law enforcement officers, when you damage equipment, you are breaking the law.
After getting backup from numerous agencies, Atlanta police fanned out into the woods and detained at least 35 people. Their names, charges, and hometowns will be released later today.
We continue to see a number of individuals not from Atlanta, Georgia, that are present tonight undertaking criminal activities.
With protesters vowing a week of action against the training site, police say they'll step up patrols to prevent what they call an escalation of violence.
Criminal activity will not be tolerated in Atlanta, nor tolerated in connection with this project.
No officers suffered any injuries. There were a handful of the protesters who ended up being treated for minor injuries when officers say they used non-lethal threats and weapons against them.
So in that report, they say, among other things, quote, officials say around 5:30 p.m. Sunday, dozens of protesters left the nearby South River Music Festival, changed into black clothing, and entered the site of the controversial proposed police training center. Quote, this was a very violent attack that occurred this evening. Very violent attack, unquote, the Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shirebaum said near the scene. At this point, they include video footage of the fire and of law enforcement leaving the area. Let's watch that video here. Again, these people who are concerned with the environment, they claim, are setting a prairie fire here and setting black smoke into the atmosphere all around. You can see another little prairie fire there and another one there. Police evacuating because it's horrible to breathe that stuff in. Meanwhile, these treehouse Antifas, they're squatting there. They have their tents there and everything. It's going to smell like burnt rubber and oil and, you know.
Smart enough to know that that's toxic.
Mm-hmm. And see, I think some of this is sort of, it's showing that the motivation isn't the noble causes that they claim it is. It's about nihilism and rage and destruction, because if they really did care about the environment, would they do that?
No, they wouldn't.
Look at that. Look at all that. You can also see little fires here and there. Spotted, probably where a Molotov cocktail landed, or maybe a firework. After receiving backup from numerous agencies, Atlanta police fanned out into the woods and detained at least 35 people. Monday, police said they charged 23 of those detained with a count of domestic terrorism. The source goes on to say FBI Atlanta weighed in on the violent incident Monday afternoon, pledging to work alongside state and local partners to, quote, determine if any federal statutes have been violated, unquote. And sorry about my contemptible tone, but I it's the FBI. They're just, why are they allowed to exist? You know, that's the taxpayer-funded corruption right there. Further on, Fox 5 Atlanta reports that, quote, no officers were injured in the confrontation. A handful of protesters were treated for minor injuries when officers said they used, quote unquote, non-lethal force against the group, unquote. They go on to list the names of 22 of the 23 arrestees, and they don't explain why they left one out, and their places of origin. And I looked it over. I'm not going to show you the list with their names, but only 2 of them are from Georgia, according to the list. The rest are apparently from other states of the United States, and 1 from Canada and 1 from France. And as we saw in my aforementioned report, This particular Antifa cause, the Stop Cop City thing, has support from Antifa in various U.S. cities, but also in Germany and France, probably in Italy, not sure where else. They report on the governor's statements, and I'm not going to go over that because, you know, it's so predictable, you know. Oh, okay, they lit the trailer on fire. Tabby, look at this.
That's so smart.
The work trailer or whatever you would call that. And, so...
You know, all that does is aid capitalism because the company will get a new one through insurance.
Yeah.
Dumb-dumbs. And they'll probably
Good
get a
point.
better one because most of those things are slightly out of date of the newest model.
And they also knocked over the porta potties.
Oh yeah, because that's what we need in the soil. Food, water, and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's good to put in the ground.
It's not.
But, yeah, they care about the environment so much that they did this. Wow, look at, you can see the smoke from way back here. Look at that. Damn. This is how much they care about the environment, folks.
Petroleum products on fire.
Yeah. You
That's
just see
like
the helicopter.
pouring oil on the ground and striking a match for fun. That's what you've done.
Yeah.
That's all you've managed to do is pollute the air.
Yep.
And guess what the trees breathe, motherfucker? The air.
Right, and that's...
So you literally polluted the trees' oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, what, you know, they make oxygen, but you know what I mean. You polluted their shit.
Yeah. Their air is polluted, and now
Yeah, you know, it's not okay.
Crowd of demonstrators up there. This is the entrance to the Atlanta Remote Control Club, which I believe is part of Entrenchment Creek. This is off of Constitution Road. These came in from here, went across a big plain, separating the streets from the woods.
these guys are not messing around.
Hearing from one police radio, there's fireworks being shot.
Yes, they're shooting at police, shooting at state troopers.
Heard another radio say shooting at state troopers. I believe that means fireworks. You still see a helicopter up in the air. The woman says, "What do you want us to do?" An officer says, "Get the fuck out of the way." Ah, shit, what's happening? Or an explosion from, I don't know what direction that is.
Again, that's New York Times reporter Sean Keenan. Now you can see Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. She tweeted, Antifa attacked the Atlanta Future Public Safety Training Facility. This is domestic terrorism. It was planned for weeks and announced on social media. Antifa are self-proclaimed communists and consistently organized to attack our government over and ... And what video is this? She didn't say. Oh, if we have seen this already, I am sorry, but let's have a look. Yeah, we've seen this before. Same prairie fires. And, we get the idea. So she's calling that to everybody's attention on a much wider national scale, being in Congress. Alright, we get the idea there. She also tweeted the 6th of March, Antifa are domestic terrorists, and I'm introducing my resolution to officially declare them a terrorist organization on Tuesday. So that would be March 7th. Alright, from earlier today, Sean Keenan, this is New York Times, got... So, you can see this is not an accident. They're not burning this by accident. They wanted to burn this. It wasn't a stray firework or anything like that. And apparently they're throwing rocks at a fire, but they're missing. They're throwing. I mean, look at this guy. He can't even throw a rock at this thing that's a few feet in front of him.
That is pretty dumb.
And this guy too.
Large. You think you should be able to hit that?
Yeah. And what's the point of throwing this?
There isn't. It's just monkey thought.
It's Yeah, they're monkeys. They're goddamn monkeys.
Scary thing. Stone, scary thing. Stone.
Throw the stone at
Stone.
Now here's more video footage of that trailer on fire.
This is the Cop City site. Construction vehicles are up in flames. It's like a trailer for the construction crew, about to be up in flames. Smoke bombs. Cops just seem to watch.
Okay. At 11:23 p.m., The Hill published Green to introduce resolution declaring Antifa a terrorist organization, in which they called the terrorists, quote, a progressive group, unquote. Alright, this is The Hill. They also remind us, quote, in January, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, issued a state of emergency after peaceful protests broke out in response to a police shooting. Now, wait a minute. And we already did a report on this, and we saw that they were lighting things on fire and a police car on fire and etc. So, is it peaceful when you're lighting fires on a scale where it's very likely that people are going to be hurt? I think that's called rioting. Yeah. Anyway, let's read what they wrote, okay? The Hill calling these people, these domestic terrorists or whatever, progressive group. They write, quote, in January, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, issued a state of emergency after police protests broke out in response to a police shooting of an activist during a operation to clear out the construction site for the facility. Green's resolution would not be the first of its kind. Representative Lauren Boebert, Republican, Colorado, introduced a resolution in 2021 to designate Antifa a terrorist organization, but the resolution did not get any traction in the Democrat-controlled House, unquote. A Southern Poverty Law Center lawyer was among the 23 domestic terrorism suspects who were charged, quote, following a violent ambush attack to try to retake their lost autonomous zone occupation, unquote, reported Andy Ngo for the Post-Millennial on March 6. Furthermore, he reported, quote, Thomas Webb Jurgens, 28, is the only suspect with a registered address in the Atlanta area. He is an attorney for the SPLC. The SPLC is a left-wing nonprofit that says it monitors extremism in the United States. It has been marred in its own controversies, where former staff accused of the organization of systemic racism and sexism. In 2012, a leftist gunman, later convicted of terrorism and other violent felony offenses over a shooting at a Christian lobbying group in Washington, D.C., told investigators he used the SPL website to pick his kill target. There is terror suspect Thomas Webb Jurgens, or Jurgens, however he says his name. There he is on, I think that's his Twitter. Tom Jurgens, whatever. Staff attorney, SPLC, Atlanta metropolitan area. No continues to report, quote, SPLC spokesperson Michael Edison Hayden did not respond to an inquiry about if the SPLC condones political violence, and sent the Post-Millennial a link to a prepared joint statement with far-left legal group National Lawyers Guild, that's the Green Hats, who claims Jurgens as a member. Hayden and the SPLC's staff frequently communicate in a chummy manner with Antifa accounts on Twitter. The SPLC and NLG, the National Lawyers Guild, statements express support for Durgan's, and the cause of the violent, quote, Stop Cop City, unquote, movement. Hayden also took to Twitter to repeat a chant used by the militants during their march to the ambush attack, unquote. No concludes his report with, quote, the 23 arrests on Sunday now bring to a total 42 members of the Stop Cop City movement charged with domestic terrorism, unquote. This was not the first report linking the SPLC to Antifa. In May of 2019, PJ Media put out reporting shows online ties linking HuffPost, The Guardian, and SPLC to Antifa by Tyler O'Neill, in which he reports, quote, journalists with the Huffington Post, The Guardian, and the SPLC have maintained connections with Antifa activists, a new report revealed. The SPLC, which makes its mark by following organizations it accuses of being quote-unquote hate groups, has taken some flack for refusing to brand Antifa a quote-unquote hate group. Perhaps this report explains why, unquote. His report includes this now deleted thread by Dr. Eoin Lenihan, I'm probably not saying that name right, which includes this tweet here, which was removed but has been archived, and here's a screenshot of it. May 15, 2019, beginning, or not the beginning, but the second in a very long thread. He's tweeting, quote, we mapped the social interactions of 58,254 Antifa-affiliated accounts on Twitter based on an initial seed of 16 self-identifying and verifiable Antifa accounts, and Mark Bray, that's the author of the Anti-Fascist Handbook, who chose not to confirm if he is a member of Antifa, but whose book makes a solid case for inclusion. And having read his book, that's absolutely true. By the way he defines it, he is himself Antifa. So anyway, in a long and involved thread about the study, PJ Media reported in Report Shows Online Ties linking HuffPost and Guardian and SPLC to Antifa that, quote, the researcher turned to the journalists who work for HuffPost, The Guardian, and the SPLC, unquote. Further down he writes, quote, Lenihan condemned white supremacists and fascists, noting that many Identity or Open members, quote, are despicable people and they have been labeled an extremist group by the SPLC, unquote. Yet even the SPLC has ties to Antifa. Among the top 2% of Twitter users with close ties to the extremists is, quote, Chief Investigative Reporter for the SPLC Matthew Hayden, unquote. The doctor was suspended for this tweet, or this thread I should say, according to Twitter bans analyst who revealed Antifa connections with journalists by Ian Chong for Human Events, May 29, 2019. Not surprising that they would suspend him for something like that. Furthermore, Salty Cracker reports or jokes Antifa terrorist gets tased in butt after setting on fire a construction site in a new tech exclusive. You won't find this on YouTube, except here on my video, I guess.
They chased a few of these meth heads around and tased one of those ideas right in the bowl.
Just to be clear, folks, I'm not sure if that actually took place there at that event or not, if he's just making a joke or what. The wise asses at Not The Bee commented on this incident with, quote, remember, if you pray at an abortion clinic or try to defend your family and property from violent people, you are a fascist criminal that will be on the receiving end of an FBI SWAT team, courtesy of the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland. But if you're a communist terrorist who literally tries to burn down the nation in an attempt to take power, it's just a mostly peaceful protest, unquote. There will no doubt be more skirmishes in this battle, and I will report on them, so make sure you are subscribed. Also see my Culture War Encyclopedia, make sure you're subscribed to that, it's a whole other Substack. Also check out my link below here to all my social medias and to Tabbies, and make sure you're subscribed to everything. Thank you, everyone. Laughter my shield, knowledge my steed, Wit I may wield, but question my rede. Liberty my right, truth my sword, love my life, honor my reward.